everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer this week. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Hope your week's going well. We're going to be taking a look at this ingress of Mercury moving into the sign of Leo. If you guys like this content, you want to see more of it, make sure you click the bell button below. Leave me a comment and let me know where is Mercury going to be moving through in your own chart. And don't forget to like and share. Give me a thumbs up if you find this helpful and consider sharing with your other astro enthusiast friends. And please do subscribe so you're alerted as to when we have new videos coming out on the channel. We're here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday trying to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. All right, so this is gonna be like a two-part video, okay? Because number one, Mercury will go retrograde. We will actually see that taking place next month at the beginning of August, but it's going to kind of move into Virgo. So I would like to talk a little bit about that first before it retrogrades back into Leo. So just as a reminder, you're going to see actually Mercury in this particular sign for an extended period of time. So watch for the part 2 video that's going to come later in July where I talk more about the Mercury retrograde, where Mercury will retrograde from Virgo back into Leo, okay? So we're going to see Mercury entering into the sign of Leo actually today. So if you're watching on July the 2nd, this ingress is taking place, and we're going to see the first pass of Mercury being in this sign all the way through July 25th, 2024. So really most of the month of July, we're going to have Mercury in this particular sign. Now, we will see the retrograde taking place in August. Mercury will then come back into Leo and spend some more time from August 14th through September 9th, 2024. Now, if you happen to be a Leo sun, moon, or rising, this is going to be pretty prominent for you as Mercury will be moving through your placements. But, you know, just pay attention. You're going to get a lot of time to work on it. You know, so much about the retrograde is kind of reintegrating something or finding something or maybe tweaking something. And obviously, if you're ruled by Mercury, so if you are a Gemini or a Virgo rising, you're going to feel this the most because your chart ruler Mercury is going to be changing signs. So Mercury is going to be moving through Leo, right? This is the 5th sign of the zodiac ruled by the sun. This is also a fixed sign, so it can be very bold and very kind of committed, dedicated, passionate. That's something that I think about when I think about Leo energy. Well, Mercury is the planet of communication, right? So this is about intellect. It's about our thought process. It can be everything from business to communications as well as travel. So when planets go through signs, they're expressing that energy through the lens of that particular sign. So going through Leo kind of brings this flavor of enhanced creativity, self-expression, and confidence in communications. Leo's a fire sign, so Mercury moving through Leo definitely makes it more assertive, much more bold, passionate when it comes to expressing their thoughts and their ideas. Now, when Mercury moves through this sign, it brings up a period of enhanced creativity, okay? So this is great for creatives. If you're a creative writer, if you are somebody who is into writing music, or maybe you want to write short stories, or maybe you're working on a children's book, maybe you just want to focus more on getting in touch with your inner child. This is a good time to be doing that because I think it's going to be bringing up these themes. It's also great for self-expression as well as confidence when it comes to our communications. So watch for this assertive, bold, passionate energy. And I've got a couple of themes that I think that you guys are going to be seeing, particularly during this transit. Especially thinking about how Mercury is going to retrograde back into this sign, it's really obvious that the cosmos want us to do a little bit more, maybe like focus on this particular house in our chart. So if you guys haven't already pulled out your chart, pull out your chart, whether it's on a software or an app, or if you got a copy of it on paper. You want to locate where Leo is in your chart. That's where you're going to see this transit. I will take you guys through the 12 signs if you hold tight till the end of the video. And this is really interesting because, you know, we're going to see a Mercury retrograde into here. We're going to see a Mars retrograde taking place later this year, December into the new year as well. So this is kind of the time where I'm going to start encouraging everybody to kind of familiarize yourself with this particular house of your chart. The sun's going to be there pretty soon as well. All right, so watch for these themes. Obviously, we talked about kind of creative and bold communications, but I also think of drama, right? I think of how Leos have this very dramatic kind of love for the spotlight, and this particular transit can make us very charismatic in how we're communicating or maybe speaking to a crowd of people, or even storytelling. So there can be this aspect of being like, oh, all eyes on me, and saying something or performing something or talking about something that you're very passionate about. Obviously, Mercury in Leo is known for its strong sense of self-confidence. I think that's something else that I like about this transit, is that we can be more assertive when it comes to our communication. We're not afraid to speak what's on our mind and express our opinions. And I think a lot of it is going to be about what we desire, what we love, right? Because this is so much about that energy of Leo in the 5th house. What we connect to, I think, on an inner level, right? The connection to Leo and like the heart is getting to the heart of the matter and being able to better express ourselves. They love attention. It doesn't matter what placement you have in Leo. Definitely, this is a placement that loves love and it loves recognition. So I think with Mercury moving through this sign, we may find that we're more open maybe to receiving praise and recognition for our ideas and also our communication skills. Definitely a time for bold thinking. You guys are going to see this right off the bat with some of the aspects that are going to be starting when Mercury makes this ingress today into tomorrow. But I think of like Leo being a fire sign, and that fire signs are very, very bold. Okay. And so when I think about Mercury moving through this sign, I think, well, it can be bold in a good way where we kind of stand out from the crowd. That's definitely what Leo is about in its opposition to Aquarius, which can be about kind of like the group mind or kind of the collective. But I also think about how this can bring up some stubborn issues in communications for some of us. And maybe we'll have to kind of like really reevaluate things and ask ourselves, like, are things really that black and white? And I think that we might kind of see some trouble if we're too fixated, too closed-minded, too self-centered, or too self-focused, and not able to kind of hear the thoughts and the opinions and sometimes even the criticism of people outside of ourselves. Watch also for creative problem solving. I think this will also kind of bridge into the Mercury retrograde because it'll start in Virgo and then it's going to come back into Leo. So that's wonderful for creative solutions. But Leo is known for being the artist, being a creative sign. And with Mercury moving through this, I think it's going to be about problem solving in a creative and innovative way. Mercury is about breaking things down, taking it apart, organizing things, assessing, analyzing stuff, numbers and data. So this can be a time where we can get creative with kind of fixing stuff or like tweaking things. And we might kind of feel like, hey, like I'm actually really enjoying and seeing that I have like a talent for being able to come up with some solutions. Definitely, I think a passion for learning might come up for some people because Leo is passionate and Mercury wants to explore new ideas. So I definitely think this can be a time where there may be a sense of like thrill in discovering new things or maybe learning something new. That might be something that comes up for us, especially, you know, Leo has this connection to like hobbies and things that we do in connection to playtime. So it might be some of us are kind of talking more about, well, how can I cultivate more of that? And how can I find more time to do the things that I love and start talking about it, especially before some of these other planets move into Leo. Mercury is the first planet, but soon after that, we're going to see Venus, we're going to see the sun. Eventually down the road, we will also see Mars move into Leo. So think of it as like Mercury is the mind, and the mind is kind of getting ahead of some of the actions and the other things that are going to be coming later in the year. He could have the megaphone and he could be broadcasting to you throughout this Mercury transit, maybe even the Mercury retrograde, of what to be prepared for and what you're going to be working through at the end of 2024. Watch for what can be sometimes a tendency to exaggerate, okay? So sometimes we see this with Mercury in some of the fire signs. Because they love drama, there can be a sense of inflating things. and not in a dishonest way, but just the way that things come off, like the pizzazz of, you know, how we're communicating with Mercury in this particular sign can definitely dramatize things, hype things up, and make things seem a little bit more kind of intense or glamorous even than they really are. But last, and certainly not the least, watch for leadership qualities to be emerging. Because Leo is a sign of leaders. That is what we see in that particular zodiac sign. This can be leadership in the world. This can be world leaders. This can be leaders of, you know, like events. This could be leaders of teams. This is going to be the focus when we see planets go through Leo. And I think it's about all of us really kind of tapping into our natural leadership abilities, learning how to lead with, I think, practical thinking. And I think so much of that's going to be the Mercury retrograde, where we're like, wait a second, we're trying to be practical and kind of like as kind of like specific as we can be. But then as we see the retrograde happen, we're going to realize like, okay, there's some things happening that, you know, we may feel like we have to make a big deal about, right? We might actually kind of really feel like more so tapped into being loud and proud about something than a little bit more cool, calm, and collected when it's in Virgo. Anyway, Mercury in Leo is known for creating people who are natural born leaders and very charismatic in their communication. So even if you don't have this placement, when we have this Mercury transit, you're going to find that maybe you are a little bit more willing to kind of stand up at work and encourage other people, or maybe you are more willing to say, hey, you know, I'll take responsibility for this, or like, who's going to help me? There is this sense of like wanting to jump in and be the hero. And so I think that we're going to learn that being a leader actually starts with being able to kind of recognize, hey, you know, this is something that's important. Let's kind of like talk about it. Let's bring it up. Let's kind of encourage other people also to kind of follow in suit. And I think it's also going to be holding us all accountable for some of the ways that we are speaking to other people. And it's going to have all of us kind of watching what people in leadership positions are saying out in the world. And obviously there's going to be a bit of a ping pong with that when we see the retrograde. So that'll be fun. Anyway, so obviously during this transit, in a nutshell, I think we'll be feeling more inclined towards artistic pursuits, leadership roles, and public speaking. So consider this a time that's wonderful for showcasing your talents and taking on new projects or expressing your unique ideas with a little bit more enthusiasm and flair. However, just watch for some of the impulsiveness that can come up. We can also see some impatience that can come up with fire signs. Try not to be seeing the world as everything is black and white. And remember to balance creativity with practicality and think before speaking and acting. And so much about this is going to be what I think, and some of these oppositions and squares, where that's kind of coming into some friction with other people, outside forces outside of us. Now, some thoughts before I get into Mercury's trek today. The thing that I thought about first was that as we see this transit unfold, right, it's going to be quite a while because of the retrograde stuff. The sun will be the dispositor of Mercury, okay? So we want to watch what's going on with the sun throughout this transit. Something to kind of keep in mind is that when we first start this transit today, the sun is in Cancer, all right? So we've got the sun in a lunar water sign, a cardinal sign. I see this being more about emotions. I see this more being about sensitivity, empathicness. It can be also about our homes. It can be about our families. It can be about family relations, kind of domestic stuff when we think about Cancer. So when Mercury is kind of reverberating off of that sun in Cancer, this is influencing what we're talking about, what we're thinking about. So we can be a little bit more emotional and a little bit more sensitive than we're aware of. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. And then eventually somewhere down the road, when the sun ingresses into Leo, which will be the second half of July, then we're going to see more focus and effects revolving around the sun in Leo. It'll be in its domicile, which means it's in its home sign where it's very strong. And we may see a little bit more bold kind of communications kind of acting up now that the sun has moved signs. Okay, so think of Cancer as more emotions. Leo is more actions. So you're going to see a lot more action this second part of July. Now, like I said, we will eventually have a Mercury retrograde. That won't be until August, but you will be experiencing a Mercury shadow. So if you guys listen to my horoscopes for the month of July 2024, I do touch on this and I talk about mid-month. I think it's around the 16th. We start coming into the shadow period. This basically means that Mercury is going through the degrees, which it will stop and retrograde back through in the month of August. So sometimes in the shadow, there's the pre-shadow, then we have the retrograde, and then we have the post-shadow. We can start seeing the effects of the Mercury retrograde before it happens, because likely there's this kind of shift internally during the retrograde. You know, Mercury will retrograde conjunct the sun, and then we have this like death and rebirth of Mercury, and there's like a realization that happens. So think of that as like a purification period. So you might start seeing things kind of go haywire during the pre-shadow. I think it will, especially since we're going to see several kind of staticky squares between Mercury and Leo and Uranus and Taurus. So I really recommend familiarize yourself with the house that occupies Leo in your natal chart. Ask yourself, what do you love? What makes your heart sing? How can you rearrange life to create more playtime in that particular area? And yes, Mercury, going retrograde, it can mean that there are miscommunications eventually. With what? With leadership, who's in charge of things, miscommunications with our children, because Leo rules children, our lovers, our playmates, our boyfriends, our girlfriends. There can be some kind of haywiredness when it comes to romantic or love affairs. We can hear from the past more than usual. So these things are not abnormal to happen during a retrograde of any kind, really, in Leo. But maybe if Mercury represents messages, emails, phone calls, DMs, you're gonna get that kind of stuff that's kind of coming up from the past, right? So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. If you're like, why is my ex calling me? Why is so-and-so adding me back on Facebook? Why is this person texted me? We dated so long ago, that kind of stuff. And then also, don't expect this transit to start off lovey-dovey, because it's not going to. Likely by the time you guys are watching this video, you're already starting to feel the incoming opposition to Pluto. So that's the first transit right off the bat, is Mercury making an opposition to Pluto in Aquarius. So we're no strangers to this. Okay, we saw this stuff happen in Taurus season when the Sun, Mercury, Venus, everything, even Mars went through Taurus. It made a 90-degree square to Pluto, and that was kind of this feeling that's like the physical, financial, maybe the value changes, like all of those shifts that changed as all those planets were opening up in a square to Pluto. And Pluto in Aquarius is literally changing and transforming something about the future. It's about innovations. I think of this being a Saturn sign, so it can definitely talk about restriction and limitation. And Leo deals with youth. So we can quite literally see so much contrast, so much conflict, so much polarity as we see planets go through Leo this season, and it will all face off in an opposition to Pluto, which essentially means we're dealing with something outside of ourselves, something relational that is triggering us. And it can trigger some of the less, positive, or I would say the lower octave qualities of the sign of Leo. So yeah, basically this means that Pluto, the shadow, right? Shadow issues revolving around government or leadership, shadow issues in friendships, and the dark side of the internet, but also cruelty, anger, hostility, manipulation, and strongholds. These are all themes that we kind of see with Pluto, and the impact that is having first on our minds, how we think, how we communicate. Be very mindful that right off the bat when this transit starts, fear can be the motivator for bravery. Manipulation can be exposed, but it can lead to very courageous acts and some very bright-minded people who are probably going to have a lot to say. They will probably take to the internet and, write some amazing things or some great Substacks. I think we're going to see people who are literally going to start writing plays or creating art or music or other things that is challenging this Pluto and its kind of like hostile kind of takeover. Do not let fear run the show. Be mindful of who or what lives rent-free in your mind. That's the one thing I want you guys to think about. You might find yourself obsessing about something today or tomorrow. You might find yourself feeling threatened in some way. Mercury is speech, guys. Pluto is about power and control and manipulation. This is literally ruled both by Saturn, which is now retrograde in Pisces conjunct Neptune. So it's definitely going to be about censorship on the internet. We've seen this recently. There has been a Supreme Court ruling that has essentially deemed that it is legal for the United States government to continue to influence what you are seeing on social media. This is this in action, okay? We've also got Uranus, which is the modern day ruler of Pluto. And we're getting ready to see a Mars-Uranus conjunction, right? Which could quite literally mean people speaking out and kind of getting on stage and speaking out against war, speaking out against the money made from war, speaking out against central banking, maybe digital currencies, speaking out against AI and how it's impacting artists and people who are creative and potentially putting them out of work. A lot of things that are going to correlate and relate to art. Leo can be about Hollywood. Leo can be about actors and actresses, and Pluto is going to be about unions. So I'm anticipating that we're going to see some fireworks this summer about what's going on with future negotiations between what is going to be the actors or the Teamsters or anybody else who's a part of like the networks that are the unions within Hollywood or the entertainment industry. So a number of retrogrades and oppositions to Pluto, some squares to Uranus. I smell that there could potentially be some further strikes for some of these particular groups. Anyway. Let's get into the trek of Mercury. Let's talk a little bit about what Mercury is going to be doing. I'm going to take you through the first portion. So I'm just going to take you all the way up until Mercury enters into Virgo. We'll touch on the retrograde, like I said, later this month. So if you're watching today, July the 2nd, 2024, Mercury is now in this particular sign. So it is loud and it is bold. If you have a natal Mercury in Leo, at some point in the next month, you're going to have a Mercury return. Heck, you might have a few of them with that retrograde. So watch for the bold communication that is beginning, not just because Mercury's in this sign, but watch, it's beginning to come into an opposition with Pluto. Now, I personally think because the opposition between Mercury and Pluto is going to be at a 1, is that we're going to be hearing like which leaders are speaking out against war. I think it was General Colonel McGregor, I want to say that was his name. He gave a really interesting, it was short, but it was so perfect, like 5-minute speech. And it was after Biden and Trump had their debate. And he basically came out and said in so many words, what's happening right now is scary. We need to start asking ourselves, like, who's running the country? We're, kind of spiraling into like war. And he just talks about all of the effects of what's going on in the United States right now. And it reminds me of this transit. A leader is going to be, Leo. And Mercury could be a video they put out. It could be a statement they make. It could be, something that is all over media, like something like that. So when this happens, it's at 1 degree. So it's going to be about what individuals are saying. It's going to be about what people are talking about in regards to military and war. As many of you guys may or may not know, there's been legislation and stuff in the United States that has now been updated that will now supposedly automatically register men and women at the age of 18. I believe it's all the way up to like somewhere in your late 20s. I want to say 26 to 28. Technically for what would be considered kind of reserves for the draft. So in this country, you're supposed to, when you're 18 as a man, register for that. And that's something that's required. Whether or not everybody does that, I'm not going to go there. But it's interesting that now they're saying it's now going to be an automatic thing. It's now going to be sons and daughters. And it got me thinking about, wow, this opposition, and just seeing a lot of people who are making statements on social media saying, I will not send my child off to war, right? I will not send them off to these never wars that are basically fueled by bankers who just continue to kind of get rich off of people dying. Mercury in Leo, which is bold, saying when it comes to war, 1 degree, my child, Leo, will not go and die opposition to Pluto for your diabolical kind of plans and your politicking. So I'm wondering, are we going to hear more of this kicking up? Or are we going to hear more people being like, if that happens, we're not going, we won't send our children, we won't be involved. We've heard some stuff coming out of the UK recently. I think it was Rishi Sunak that said, really simple, that, if you don't register, you may not have access to your banking. And somebody questioned and was like, well, what does that mean? And he kind of pulled back a little bit and was like, well, you may not have as much access to things. So insinuating that if you refuse to, basically go along with things and be involved with the agenda to potentially serve, that would limit your ability to have financial security. So there's going to be some interesting stuff that's going to happen with this opposition. Just out in the world, watch for the bullies on the playground, people who are threatening you, people who also you might feel like are pressing you a little bit too much, asking questions, things feeling uncomfortable, and kind of feeling like there could be some manipulation that's kind of going on at play. I do think that 180 degrees is one of the more challenging aspects in astrology. Pluto represents transformation, power, and deep psychological processes, and Leo is about self-expression and creativity. So when we see this opposition between the two, there's a tension that's going on between individual desires, Leo, and collective needs, right, Aquarius. So on a personal level, this can lead to a crisis of identity and a reevaluation of your purpose and what direction you're going in your life. Likely, it can bring up issues relating to power dynamics and control, and you may feel like you need to assert yourself in some way or resist some kind of external pressure. Now, on a societal level, completely different. We're going to see lots of other things that are going on. I think there's going to be a push to reform or reevaluate something. That's kind of what's going to happen. Remember, Jupiter is now in Gemini, guys. So with Jupiter in Gemini, we are expanding the mind. We are also expanding things revolving around laws. Jupiter rules over laws. This is also going to be expanding media. There's going to be more opportunities, more options. So when this opposition happens, even though this is pretty gnarly, the sun is coming into a trine with Saturn. The sun has been recently square the north and south nodes. So we kind of feel like we're at a crossroads right now. But Mercury is coming into a sextile with Jupiter, and, it is in kind of harmony, so to say. Moon will be conjunct Jupiter. So best believe whatever shocking, surprising, or damning information or statement that's put out there will probably be taking the internet by storm all day today into tomorrow, okay? All right, so then what to watch for? So transformation of leadership, okay? Because, well, like I said, Leo is leaders. And with that opposition between Leo and Aquarius, it can likely lead to a shift in leadership styles. So we might find that there is kind of like this more traditional, type of like leadership style that's being challenged. And like there's this separation, or there's this push for more collaboration and more kind of like a community-oriented leadership. So we're moving away from, like what seems like this, like, king or somebody who's like, leading and like they're the sole ruler, to there being panels and groups of people and group decisions and people who are like voting on stuff. So it's not like a one person kind of decision, right? So we're seeing that kind of conflict out in the world. Likely there's going to be changes relating to creative expression. So I think with this opposition, it's going to be a shift in the way that we express ourselves creatively. It could lead to new forms of art and other forms of expression that challenge the status quo. Yes, power struggles are guaranteed, both in personal and also society's levels. And there may be a need to balance personal power with the needs of the collective. I think social justice issues are going to come up with this opposition because Aquarius is associated with, like justice and equality. And with Pluto retrograde, we're reevaluating that right now. And with the opposition to Leo, there may be a focus on issues relating to power imbalances and the need for reform. Look for opportunities for technological advancements, like innovation. I think this opposition can lead to advancements in technology and a shift in the way that we interact with technology. But I think it's going to be more about us kind of being like the dark side, like us constantly scrolling through things and like what we're seeing, what we're exposing ourselves to, and how that impacts our mind. And then also look for the beginning of what's going to be lots of talk about generational shifts. So, whatever is going on right now, it's going to be affecting generations. And we're going to hear about how there's going to be this shift in generational values and priorities. I'm already kind of seeing it. Like I'm seeing like how there's so much like conflict between what seems to be like boomers and like Gen Zers, or even kind of like millennials, just like the difference of opinions on stuff. And I feel like Pluto in Aquarius is very much about this kind of like extreme futuristic, kind of like, like really like liberal, type of like perspective. Because it's free. That's very much what Aquarius is. And then we have like this Leo energy where we will see these retrogrades through, where it's going to be like moving away from self-centeredness, moving away from being solely, focused on oneself, or consumed with power, or maybe even consumed with, like their own needs. And I'm seeing this for the people who have Pluto in Leo, like watching them having gone through the last couple of years with like the Saturn oppositions and the Uranus squares. And now the Pluto oppositions for some of you guys, it's like a completely different ball game. And so, I think it's really addressing, the issues with all of the different, perspectives within these particular, like generations, and where they're just going to be like kind of just battling it. They're just kind of like duking it out, and not really kind of seeing eye to eye about a bunch of things. All right, so let's move now to the next big transit. This is going to be on the 8th. And we will see on the 8th a nice aspect, actually. So this is it's kind of short and sweet, but it's still good. We're going to see Mercury come into a trine with the North Node and a sextile with the South Node. Okay, so that North Node in Aries, basically the trine is harmonious. It's supporting one another. This is a fire trine, so it is much more action oriented. The North Node represents your life's purpose and what you're working towards. So you're going to have the North Node in Aries still for like another 6 months or so, where you're growing in that particular area. Aries is a sign that deals with action, initiative, and self-assertion. So when we see Mercury forming a trine to this particular North Node, it's basically suggesting that you're utilizing your intellectual and communicative abilities to help you take bold steps forward towards your life's purpose. So you may find that there is an opportunity for a leadership role, standing up for your beliefs, speaking up for your, and standing up for yourself. Take a pen, red ink, write down July 8th, okay? Because this is kind of like where the future is calling, all right? And the trine's actually going to be at 10 degrees. So where it comes to making big decisions about the future of your career, about what your goals are for yourself, about what you're hoping to achieve. It's a great business planning day as well. It's right after a new moon, and there's no way you guys aren't going to miss this opportunity for communication, because the moon is going to be conjunct Mercury this day in Leo, which is basically saying, I want to talk, I want to create, I want to collaborate, like beautiful aspects. Like save this day for like a creative brainstorming day. Save this day to start maybe launching or initiating new businesses, or even just kind of like brainstorming and trying to come up with new creative things that you could be doing, because I think it's a great aspect. Now it will also sextile the South Node in Libra. Okay, so the South Node in Libra, it represents our past, including our comfort zones and our habits. And Libra is about balance, it's about harmony, it's about relationships. So when we see this sextile, basically it's suggesting that we're able to navigate past experiences and relationships in a balanced, harmonious way. You may find that you're able to see both sides of an issue today and resolve conflicts and maintain harmony in your relationships. So to me, it seems like it's really encouraging diplomacy. We're able to kind of communicate clearly, positively, in an optimistic way. We're able to answer the call to what the future is trying to kind of tell us we need to do. And then we also have Mercury sextile Jupiter, and Jupiter is in Gemini. So it's all about expansion of growth and learning. So I think this is great because it makes us very curious. It's also really about highlighting our talent for communication and networking. So this is probably one of like my favorite aspects this particular day on July the 8th. The sextile to Jupiter, it's going to enhance communication. It's going to make us, I think, a little bit more hungry for knowledge or information or wanting to know more. It also helps us be flexible and adaptable because it's an immutable sign. And this is wonderful for networking and socializing. So this really helps us, like, when it comes to any of our social or networking aspects. So I love this day for being like, I'm going to send out a blast and invite people to a party, or I'm going to like launch a new online group. Anything like that is like super beneficial on the 8th. So make that your main communication day. All right, so then it would appear around the 16th, this is when we're coming into shadow. Okay, because it's going to be like around 21 degrees that Mercury is going to go direct. So by the time you get to July 16th, we are now entering into Mercury retrograde shadow. So what does it mean? You're watching this on the 2nd. You basically have 2 weeks from now to back up your hard drives, change your oil, look over any important contracts or details, plan your travel, any of the stuff that you need to do. And it's ideal that you're making these decisions probably closer to the time that I gave you around the 8th, when we had some really nice Jupiter Mercury nodal action. The other side of me says, okay, throughout this Mercury retrograde, we're going to have several squares to Uranus where things are going to be a little turbulent. We're going to see that there's going to be some plans that are going to change. We're going to feel kind of stressed out about something. There's going to be some potential kind of impact or effect from what we're talking about or what we're saying. And it could be physical changes, financial changes. So you could say, all right, I'm going to look at my chart. I know where the retrograde is going to be taking place. Virgo back into Leo. I'm going to be mindful that the shadow is here, but I'm going to actually not do anything until I see what happens with some of the squares and just see how it shakes out. That's how I'm navigating it personally, because I feel like the squares that we're going to see between Mercury and Uranus is it's going to give us a bit of a curveball. Okay. So do what you want with that information, but that's kind of how I would recommend handling it. All right, so then we're going to get into July 18th. This is when Mercury is going to trine Chiron. So we have yet another fire trine. And trines are positive, harmonious energies. So it's free flowing. It's like a Jupiter energy, so it can make things feel bigger. So be mindful that Mercury, the mind, trine Chiron could mean words hurt more. There could be more stress revolving around feeling isolated or left out or overlooked when it comes to our friends or our love life. There could be more conscious awareness revolving around what we need to heal, or difficult conversations maybe we're having about healing, or things that we've experienced as a kid, or issues revolving around romantic partners. Chiron represents our deepest wound and the process of healing it. And Aries is bringing a focus on self-expression and assertiveness and taking action. So when you see a trine, I mean, it's positive for communication and maybe expressing yourself more clearly, but I think it's going to be about communicating your needs and your boundaries more efficiently, which is really an important part of the healing process. It's going to bring up themes revolving around assertiveness, and it can help you take action towards healing your wound and moving forward in life and having the ability to assert yourself. This is also, I think, about courage and having the courage to face your wounds and work through your wounds and finally healing it. And this aspect can support your healing journey and help you overcome any fears or insecurities that may actually be holding you back. So just be mindful that that's going to kind of be on our minds during these particular transits on the 18th. Now, this is going to be the first of what will be 3 squares to Uranus in Taurus, okay? I want to remind you guys that mid-month we have a Mars-Uranus conjunction, and I still have yet to do a video on that. I touched on it on my horoscopes, but I'm putting together a video for you guys right now. But I will tell you that's going to be one of the more spicy transits this year. So the fact that this is coming after the conjunction, I feel like is probably very much somehow to do with what happens during that conjunction. So let me show you really quick. So we're going to see Mars and Uranus meet around what's going to be, you're going to start feeling it, let's say the 14th, 15th, and then 16th of July. 26 degrees right down here. Okay. So the 14th, 15th, 16th, those two meet. Then we see
Mercury come into the square with Uranus, and that's going to be on the 21st. Okay. What does this mean? So we will see several points, both in the pre-shadow, the retrograde, and then when it's direct, of tension with Uranus. Once again, we're looking at what's going on with the sun, right? When the sun is in Cancer, it's showing us what is actually influencing Mercury. So Mercury square Uranus. First of all, Uranus and Taurus, not happy there, wants to be stable, cool, calm, and collected. When it's in that particular, when that planet is in that sign, it's kind of all over the place. Now, it is here to wake us up. It is here to rattle something and kind of set something free. This is about sudden change, innovation, and revolution. Taurus is about the desire for stability and security. So there is definitely an indication that there's more of a need for financial security, and there can be a tendency to be resistant to change, right? So when Mercury squares this, it's saying that there's tension between these particular two planets and the topics which they represent. So there's tension basically between tradition and innovation, right? There's tension between, communications. We could find that it's much more difficult to communicate than usual. We may feel like mentally kind of like we stuck our finger in a light socket, and we can feel a little overwhelmed, and there could be conflicts or misunderstandings. We can feel like there is this brewing conflict between what we used to kind of value versus, now there's some kind of change in our value system, and maybe we're desiring to break free from them in some way. I definitely feel like this can also bring up a very eccentric communication style. Mercury square Uranus is like, like people's whose voice patterns are changing very rapidly, and like they're kind of all over the place, and their thought can be kind of like sporadic. And it can be a strength or a weakness, but I definitely feel like this makes it more difficult to connect with other people when we seem like we're kind of just like on edge. I always think of Mercury Uranus transits as like drinking too much coffee, and you're just kind of fried. I've had Uranus in opposition to my Mercury for like the last like year and a half, and it's finally fading, thank God. But yeah, it definitely creates a lot of mental stress, especially in how you communicate. And then obviously unexpected changes. You never know what you're going to get with Uranus. All you know is that it's going to bring up something very unexpected. And in this case, it's going to be unexpected in areas of communication, learning, and technology. So a couple things that I look at is, number one, the sun, okay? So the sun is the ruler of Mercury, and the sun's at 29 degrees, and it's in opposition to the moon. It's going to be a full moon at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Here, let me move the moon so you guys can see. And we also see that moon is going to be conjunct Pluto, okay? So like, whoa. So already we have a full moon where, the sun is kind of highlighting the fullness of the moon. It's bringing forth some kind of major completion, 29 degrees, revolving around leadership, revolving around politics, revolving around governments, top-down structures, leading to a crisis, right? Pluto. All right, so that's there. And then two, we can also see that, Venus, which is the ruler of Uranus, has just recently come out of an opposition with Pluto as well, okay? So it's interesting because I think we're going to hear a lot about, especially here in the United States, like bringing in younger candidates maybe for office and trying to see if there's definitely going to be a battle between older, kind of people in power and younger people who are coming in that are charismatic and, kind of like more like entertaining. But this can also be around the world. I think we might also hear more about women and how women are kind of being brought more into the spotlight when it comes to like politics and leadership roles, and whether or not that is being promoted or that's being something that's kind of being scaled back. But yeah, Venus will have just come out of a opposition with Pluto. She is going to be applying to also a square with Uranus pretty soon. So she's going to kind of go through the Thunderdome here as well. All right. So that'll be one of three. So you'll see down the road, there will be two more of those. And so the reason why I kind of said to you what I said about, the Mercury retrograde was like, well, you could try to plan things earlier in the month, but something's going to throw you for a curveball. And I really feel like it's worth finding out what the big shocking surprise news is on the 21st of July before you kind of pivot and then decide what direction you're going to be moving forward in. I think also, you know, the fact that it's at 26 degrees adds another layer to it. This is a Taurus degree. So it does deal with food, money, land, banking. I feel like it could be that we're hearing some shocking news revolving around bank bail-ins or bailouts, depending on the situation. But I have a sneaky suspicion after looking at some of the other transits this summer, the New York Stock Exchange chart, some other things, that if there is some major kind of financial crisis, some kind of breakdown, that the Mercury retrograde can quite literally be about changes that are going on revolving around leaders and what leaders have said about our money. This could also be that there is some shocking news about the stock market. I'm all over this. This is going to be a full moon that's going to be on Bitcoin's sun. We are going to have the Mars-Uranus conjunction on the sun of the New York Stock Exchange. Like, there is some major like shift afoot. We're going to see some really crazy stuff in this next month. Got me thinking about what happened, you know, I think it was the last Mars retrograde in Leo. I believe it was in 2000, I want to say it was in 2009 or 2010. But Mars went retrograde through Leo. And this is when we had the Dodd-Frank laws that was kind of put into place, which basically happened under Obama's administration, where they legally passed legislation making it possible that if shit does hit the fan for whatever reason, the banks can take your money. Even if you are FDI insured, that does not matter. If there is some kind of catastrophic thing and they need to be able to have liquidity to help the banks, technically your money is insured. But there's a whole other layer to this, which people aren't really aware of. And that's what happened during the last Mars retrograde in Leo. Obviously, after all the crisis that happened with the financial stuff in 2008. But nevertheless, we're going to have another Mars retrograde there. We're having a Mercury retrograde there. So I think that this is going to be more talking about putting things in place in the off chance that we do see some really critical situations financially with the banks or with the markets, and how that's going to be impacting your money, what you can actually possess, what you can have, squares to Taurus. Taurus is metals, okay? Leo is gold. And so we may see some stuff kind of shifting, revolving around the way people are looking at gold. People might be looking more at silvers. They may be looking at other materials, and trying to kind of like diversify when it comes to their assets and their resources in the off chance that we do see some really wild things. Not a financial advisor, can't tell you what to do. I'm just telling you what I see kind of coming in the skies, and I would kind of be on the up and up and paying attention to some of the stuff that's going to be happening, because it's going to be a bit wild. Then on the 25th, we are going to see Mercury is going to enter Virgo. So we'll have Mercury there for a little bit more than a week, from the 26th. And then it looks like, no, a little bit longer than that, actually. Mercury's not going to move back to Leo until the 14th of August. Okay. So around the 14th, that's going to happen. We will see the Cazimi right here. And that's going to happen right around the time of the full moon on the 19th. Another Mercury-Uranus square, okay? So there's still tension. This is going to be something that we're going to be kind of working out all really until the month of August. So that's part one. I would like to take you guys through the 12 rising signs, and we can talk about what's going to be going down for the 12 rising signs during this particular Mercury retrograde. So let me pull that up here. Just a reminder, guys, I am a Western astrologer. That is the type of astrology that I practice. I am not a Vedic astrologer. I've seen a number of people ask me that, but I do sometimes use Vedic technique. I'm going to be doing this for the whole rising sign, okay? So to make the most of my predictions, you want to listen to your rising sign horoscope. That's going to tell you where Mercury is going to be transiting in your chart. This is where there's going to be a lot of focus with some of the retrogrades this year, so I would pay close attention. Do listen for your rising sun and moon sign. All three of these are going to give you lots of kind of really good information. While the rising sign is going to be more literal, what's happening in your life, the sun sign can apply to your career, your creativity, your love life. And you can find that the moon sign can kind of correlate with what you need emotionally and in your kind of your private life, okay? Feel free to listen to your progress chart if that's what you want, or if you want to listen to Placidus, you can do that as well. You might have to listen to more than one rising sign. Choose your own adventure. So we're going to start first with Aries and Aries rising. What's going on, Aries? You're going to be having this retrograde. So Mercury is going to turn, hello, I'm already prepared for the retrograde. Let me start over. Mercury's transiting your fifth house, Aries. Mercury is going to be there, obviously, for off and on an extended period of time. Mercury has connections traditionally to your third house of communications, learning, the mind, short distance trips, siblings, vehicles, as well as your sixth house, which deals with health, habits, routines, maybe your coworkers, maybe it's about your schedule, maybe it's about your pets, okay? So Mercury transiting the fifth house. Mercury wants to talk about fifth house things. It wants to think about fifth house things. It wants to make time for fifth house things. That's going to be part of the lesson because you're going to see that retrograde from the sixth into the fifth. Basically, it's your time to shine, right? This is it. It's like lights, camera, action. I think you're going to feel a lot more creative and a lot more confident than ever. I think this is a wonderful time for those of you guys who want to plan a quick weekend getaway. This is a wonderful time to do anything with creative writing. This is a good time if you want to try to meet somebody on an app. This can be a time where you're, maybe focusing on, self-expression more. I see kind of like Jupiter in your third house. So some of you guys are trying to expand your content, your media. Maybe you're, working on a blog. Maybe you're learning something new, a new hobby or a new talent. And maybe this is where you're getting the opportunity to kind of share with other people. The card that I got for you is the Star card, which is really interesting because you guys heard me talk about how there's going to be that opposition to Pluto. Aquarius is the star, right? So this is a card that's about hope, renewal. This is about miracles, rejuvenation, spirituality, purpose, and positivity, inspiration, inner clarity. But I think it's interesting that this does represent Aquarius. And so maybe there is this feeling that you're like, I want to share something. And maybe there is some hope and real desire to be able to share something, how you feel, what's on your heart, what's on your mind. And you're worried that other people aren't going to receive it very well, or you're afraid that other people aren't going to like it. Or you're feeling like, ooh, like other people are going to be kind of like jealous in some way, or maybe they're not going to buy what you're putting out there, or they're not going to support what you're doing. And I would say do it anyway, right? The Star card is saying like go and be you, and then your crew will follow. You will find the people who are meant to support you. You will find the right audience. Focus on what it is that you're working on. Focus on what makes you feel truly inspired. Okay. Good luck. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. You're going to be experiencing Mercury transiting in the sign of Leo. This will be moving through your fourth house, my Tauruses. And Mercury traditionally rules your second house of money, resources, finances, as well as the fifth house of creativity, self-expression, and children. So Mercury going through the fourth house, you may find yourself more assertive and more confident in expressing your emotions, okay? You may also be interested in purchasing or adding or bringing in new kind of technological things for your home. Maybe you're getting a new computer, maybe you're updating, something for, your security system. Maybe you're installing a new TV, right? Gadgets can be Mercury. But this can also be more assessing and communicating and talking to your family about expenses, about money, about some of your goals when it comes to finances. Maybe you're reorganizing your home space in some way. There can also be more communicating and connecting with younger people, or, doing a lot of work in connection to your inner child. This can be about communicating and connecting with what you need on the inside. Family can come and visit. So Mercury can sometimes be a younger person. Sometimes it can be about more than one person, or an aunt, an uncle, or a cousin coming to visit you. This is a sign that does square you, okay? So be mindful that, you're going to see just a god-awful amount of focus when it comes to your home, your family, or your children, or who you're living with in this next month. it's not a bad thing, but I think that some of the squares maybe to, Uranus in your sign means that you're kind of like, you're a little testy, right? You're kind of like, okay, that's enough of like the neighbor's kids being over here, or there could be a sense of you feeling a little like restless and not really feeling like you're always up to, being involved with what's kind of going on with the home and the family. There's a sense of being like, give me some of my space. If you are looking to find a home or buy a home or, sign a lease or anything like that, because, Mercury's in this part of your chart. Maybe you're looking to expand or add onto your home. That's another way I could look at it. Or you're having people come and assess, like what they're going to be kind of changing or tweaking. Just be mindful of the retrograde because that will be something that's definitely going to go down. And off the bat, with that opposition to Pluto, it kind of, to me, reads as if you're like, there's something that really needs my attention at home. And it's really hard for me to split my attention between what's going on in the home front and like kind of keeping it all together at work. And I just want to remind you, Taurus, be patient. You have planets going through your fourth house. There is a need to pay attention to what your kids are saying or what your roommate needs or what your mom says. And although you're feeling like you're going to get pulled in different directions, pay attention to what's going on emotionally because this is something that you really want to pay attention to right now. Card that I get is the Lover's card. Okay, I like that. Maybe just speaking a little bit more, like sweetly or romantically with other people. Divine love, deep soul connection, choice. This can be about harmony, relationships, value alignment, balance, unity, and romance. Okay. Interesting. This is also a card that deals with Gemini, and you're going to see some sextiles to Gemini. So talking more about like what you love and then bringing those things into this space or investing so you feel like you have more of those kind of creative things in your home, right? It could be art. It could be that you're, creating a little bit of like an entertainment zone, or maybe you're, focusing on decorating a kid's room, something like that, where you're creating much more kind of like beauty in your space. All right, good luck, Taurus. Let me know how it goes. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. What's up, Gemini? You'll be having Mercury enter into Leo. This is going into your third house. Your chart ruler is on the move, so this is important. Likely when you see Mercury go through this particular part of your chart, this is going to be a time where you're just kind of like running around a little bit more. Obviously, Mercury rules you, your first house, yourself, your body, and it also has connections to your fourth house of your home, your privacy, your emotions, and your family. So Mercury entering into the third house, I feel like is just really good for your mental energy. I feel like you're going to be super sharp. You're all there. You're super focused. You're more communicative now, maybe than ever. Maybe you're feeling more sociable. Maybe you also have the opportunity to like go on a trip. You might be learning something new. That's something else to think about. There can be more communications with your neighbors. There can be more connections with siblings. There can be this process maybe where you're just wanting to kind of check in on your extended family a little bit more. Especially kind of thinking about, Mercury kind of going from your fourth house into your third house. I know some of you guys may be moving or thinking about changing your home. And so this may be a time where you're like, let's check out other neighborhoods, right? Let's see what else is out there. This is also a great transit for learning. And this is about learning something that you really enjoy, something that you're passionate about. You might be feeling that you are putting more emphasis or more focus on your social media networks or platforms. You may be getting a lot more recognition if you are posting or communicating or, sharing things on social media. I think that this is also a time where I would just really be mindful that the things that you say are going to have an influence on your mind. And it could be positive if you allow it to be positive. Especially with some of the sextiles happening to like Jupiter in your sign, I feel like this is you feeling like very inspired and like maybe that you want to teach or you want to share things with other people and like you're putting those talents out there and like letting other people see what you've got and definitely turning some heads in the process for sure. The card that I got for you is the Queen of Pentacles. Great card. So this can be about a Virgo, a Capricorn, or a Taurus, but this is about nurturing, feeling very practical, generous, welcoming, sensible. It's about luxury. It's also about having a good business sense and working parents. So I think for you, this is interesting because, we don't really see any aspects necessarily to your second house, but the sun is the dispositor here and it's trining Saturn. So it means that you're more willing to talk about what you need, what you're building, what's going on financially. And maybe you're just more vocal about that. So that way you're feeling like you have more control over some of those situations and you're making some of these things like actually really happen for you. So really, really good news, especially for any financial messages, or if you're waiting to sign a contract or like launch something or like, initiate a business deal. It's a really good card. Good luck, Gemini. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You'll be experiencing Mercury transit your second house in the sign of Leo. For you, my Cancers, you guys are going to see this happen in the second house. So it does have connections to like your values, your resources, how you spend money, what you value. But Mercury is connected to your third house, which is the mind. This is also about vehicles. This is about social media. This is about your siblings. This is about learning. And your 12th house, which is kind of like your subconscious mind, it's the things that you think about, but maybe you don't say. So it's interesting to see like that particular planet retrograde, because there's going to be this back and forth that you're going to see between like, what have I been thinking about and afraid to say? And like, what do I just need to come out with, right? When it comes to like a financial matter or situation. But Mercury is business. So Mercury going into the second house preemptively before Venus and the sun show up can say that you're interested in making money. You're interested in wheeling and dealing. This definitely makes me feel like there is going to be a boost in, talking about money, talking about business. It can make you more persuasive. It could definitely make you a little bit more charming as well. But your mind's on your money, your money's on your mind. And what I like about this is that we're going to see that Mercury is very much influenced by the sun in Cancer. So the sun, as it's going through your first house with Venus, is a lot of like what I need, what I love, what works for me, what I value. So it very much is about bringing more of those things to you. And you've got planets that are going to move all through your money house this summer, coming into trines with the North Node in your 10th house, which basically means the more that you're showing up, you're managing, you're working, you're putting yourself out there, you're in uncharted territory, maybe financially or professionally, the more that you're willing to kind of, put yourself out there and be kind of like entrepreneurial or get outside of your comfort zone, it can have a pretty significant impact in a positive way, I think, to your finances. So a lot of this is about kind of getting your finances in order. And right off the bat with that Mercury-Pluto opposition, there's definitely a little bit of a back and forth. Could be a spat about what's yours versus what someone else's, and what you feel like you do or do not have control over. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. Let's see what card you get, Cancer. The card that I get is the Ten of Swords. Okay, don't fret. I feel like for you, this is going to be about saying to somebody like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. This doesn't work for me anymore. I think because the Ten of Swords is about endings, it's about, feeling betrayed or moving through a crisis or dealing with a wound. It is about some kind of like ending of sorts, right? And it can be painful. Maybe perhaps, because Mercury represents what you don't see coming, maybe there is this sense of you being like, I need to be the one to end something before somebody ends it with me. And you're kind of thinking preemptively, like whether that's a job, it's a relationship, it's a financial situation, it's a spending habit, it's like, I got to get ahead of this before it ends up being a problem. Don't be afraid to end something, because your subconscious mind might be trying to send you signals and clues. That's like, okay, whether it's through a dream or just like an intuitive hit, make the cut, make the change before ultimately it ends up kind of coming back to you. All right, good luck, Cancer. Obviously, we've got Leo and Leo rising. So this is going to be important for you guys because it is going to be going through your sign. When you have Mercury go through your sign in your first house, first of all, it's like you walking around with a megaphone, okay? So there's definitely more communication. You're more chatty. There is more of a sense of wanting to socialize, wanting to be heard. Mercury traditionally rules your second house of money, resources, and finances, and your 11th house of networks, friends, other people, and associations. So when you have Mercury in your first house, there is a lot of you collaborating and working with groups of people, calling up friends to go and do things, trying to do some team building exercises. There is a lot of you talking about what you want and what you need. And, you know, Mercury has that connection to Virgo, so it can be about your job, talking to your friends about your work, talking to people at work about how you guys can work as a team, right? Anyway, I think you're going to feel more confident in expressing your ideas and your opinions. It's definitely a great time for creative projects and self-promotion. Put yourself out there. You know, if there's something you want, if you're looking to make new friends, Jupiter's in your 11th house, but Mercury rules Jupiter, and you're like, I want to make new friends, go and post in a community group. If you are launching a new, like a new club or something, go and share it, put the word out. There is going to be more visibility. I'm especially liking July 8th for you when you have the moon and Mercury together, because I feel like this is a moment where the universe is like, what do you want? Tell the world what you want. This is going to be Mercury and the moon trine the North Node in your 9th. Maybe you're planning a trip. Maybe you're going to school. Maybe you are, you know, telling people that you have now got accepted into some kind of group, or maybe that you're like graduating or something. Great communication day. I think the challenge for me is that Mercury will retrograde through your first house. So I have to say this to you guys. Leo is the main, okay? Do not cut your bangs. Do not mess with your hair. Do not spend a bunch of money on clothes and makeup and other things that you think you're gonna like while Mercury's in shadow. Because what's gonna happen is it's gonna retrograde and you're gonna go, actually, I don't like this haircut. I wish I never colored it this color permanently. Why did I spend so much money on that dress? And I, you know, took the tags off and I didn't save the receipt. Because it's going to be about whether or not you get refunded for money that you spend, okay? Okay, that's my warning. Number 2, Mercury will square Uranus in your 10th house, which means you're going to be a little bit combative. You're not going to get along with everybody at work. There is going to be a sense of you kind of feeling like you're a little restless, and there are some people that are kind of pissing you off, and you're questioning and wondering whether or not you can still get along with certain people, like bosses or other superiors. And it can be clients as well, because Uranus's connection to your 7th house. Right off the bat, the Mercury transit starts with an opposition of Pluto in your 7th, which basically means somebody is probably going to oppose something that you have to say. I know you don't want to hear that. I'm sorry. I'm always going to tell you guys the truth. But I talk about this in my horoscopes. I talk about how Mercury is the first planet, and don't shoot the messenger is what I would advise you. Somebody may say something to you about work or about your relationship or about your style or about a financial situation, and you're going to be like, no. And you're going to see as the sun and Venus, you know, eventually come through Leo and they oppose that that is going to be a continuation of what can be a bit of a power struggle between you and a friend, you and a partner, whatever. Make it more about you and less about them, right? All you can do is control what you think, what you say, how you react to things. And you got to think about what's best for you right now. Don't focus so much about other people trying to have control over you, or how a partner is antagonizing you, or how friends, you know, making you cry. Even though it can be difficult, put yourself first. That's what you guys really want to do during this transit. All right. The card that you get is the 7 of Swords. Intuitively, I feel like kind of like you can't betray yourself with this transit, right? You can't betray yourself. Because this is a card that is about betrayal, deception, getting away with something, theft, dishonesty, sneakiness, cunning, scheming, and strategy, right? So there can definitely be a sense of feeling like you got to keep something from somebody else. Somebody's keeping something from you. There could be some mental mind games. Be very careful with this card, because this definitely talks about dishonesty and a situation where you can't quite totally trust it. And I'm wondering what that is, you know, and does that end up kind of coming up at a later time after the transit? Do you start getting this feeling that's like, I don't know if I can trust this person? And then you see things play out through, you know, July, and then you're like, oh my God, you know, I should have listened to my initial gut kind of reaction, or my gut feeling on this, right? Good luck, Leo. Let me know what happens. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You'll be experiencing Mercury's transit through Leo in your natal 12th house. Obviously important for you, my Virgos, because, well, you guys are ruled by Mercury. So when Mercury's in the 12th house, there is definitely a lot of like mental introspection, reflection, time alone. You could be traveling. You could be deep into spiritual studies or practice. You could be feeling a little hermity more than usual with Mercury in the 12th house. This is the space of isolation, separation, healing, hospitals, private rooms, things like that. But Leo is creative. So it can mean that there is like a romantic affair going on behind the scenes. It could mean that you're working late at your art studio or, in some of your creative stuff that you're working on. Maybe you're staying up at night and you're reading more and you're feeling a little bit more inspired. Mercury also has connections to your 10th house of career and reputation. So having Mercury in the 12th house might mean that you're working hard and you have a new job, or there is some new title, or there's new responsibilities, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like burning the candle at both ends. Mercury in the 12th. I think that for you, this is about your imagination being enhanced. I think you'll find it easier to express your feelings through creative outlets. I think this is a time where you might feel more inclined to be like, I want to read in bed, or I want to watch movies, or I just want to kind of lounge a little bit to relax. One thing I will say is that for me, I've always experienced when Mercury is in my 12th house, especially when I will experience a Mercury retrograde into my 12th house, which I've had the last 2 years, there are such symbolic dreams that I have during that period. And so you'll see Mercury go into your sign retrograde. So you've also kind of been forewarned because there will be a shadow happening. You also may want to really pay attention to what changes you're making with your appearance or your body. For you, it's less about what changes you're making. I think it's more about how's your body doing. When I've seen Mercury turn retrograde on the ascendant into the 12th house, I've seen people get sick and they're not feeling as well. They can have breathing issues. There can be problems kind of going on with the lungs. Mercury. Leo can be about fevers. It can also be about heartbreak, and that you're going through a situation where you're kind of pulling back because you need space from someone or something in your healing. So obviously I hope these things don't happen, but I'm just letting you know, be mindful of changes with your body and your appearance. Pay attention to your dreams. Symbolic dreams can happen. You can get messages that you need to be aware of in terms of what's going to be kind of guiding you and help direct you in the future when the retrograde is over. And I think it's really about doing a lot of work, but maybe not feeling like you're getting the recognition that you feel like you deserve at work. And you will get that. You're going to see that happening pretty soon when transits are coming into your 10th house, like Mars and Uranus. I think that's definitely when recognition starts to come and maybe even making more money. But right now, to me, it seems like a lot of doing a lot of work kind of behind the scenes. All right, so let's take a look. Let's see what these cards say for you, my Virgos. Temperance. Ooh, it's about healing. All right. Balance, timing, healing, temperance, learning how to take downtime. Definitely Mercury retrograde, like in the 12th, that's about learning how to actually kind of like how to relax. So this is about balance, harmony, healing, patience. This is also about self-control, moderation, purpose, peace, calm, tranquility, and also, what does that say? Serenity. Perfect for the 12th house. Trying to find time for more of that, right? Good luck, Virgo. We've got Libra and Libra rising. Libra, you're going to be experiencing Mercury transiting through the sign of Leo. It's going to be moving through your 11th house of friends, networks, and associations. Now, Mercury traditionally rules your 9th house of higher education, mind, foreign travel, mentors, gurus, and the 12th house, hidden, subconscious, behind the scenes, sometimes self-undoing, and it's going to be moving through your 11th house. All right, Libra, so here's the deal. Friends, right? Messages, communications, venting, emails. Also, it can be about contact with friends in foreign places. It could be meeting with groups of people that might be international. Educational groups as well, but maybe a lot of invitations coming to be a part of something. You'll notice this trend throughout this next month or so as planets kind of filter into your 11th house. I think this is about feeling more innovative and original in your thinking. I think this is about being eager to share your ideas with other people. It's interesting that Leo is the star and then the 11th house is others. So you may feel like you can take some of your creative projects or things that you want to share in a group, you know, kind of presentation or in a part of like a club or something, and you still can shine. I think that's what's really kind of cool about the transit. Especially as your chart ruler Venus is going to be moving into this house as well. That definitely might have a little bit more of an emphasis in just the relationship that you have with other people, creating and collaborating. And it can be stuff that involves, like I said, higher education, international relations. It can be spirituality. It can be also some kind of like teaching, some kind of private teaching group or something like that can be kind of brewing for you here throughout this particular transit. Certainly with the effects of like Mercury going into your 12th and then the 11th, it could be that there's been a disconnect with somebody. And maybe you've been a little bit, you know, a little less social than usual. Now you're putting yourself back out there and you're meeting people again. It can mean that there's been a disconnection you've had with a friend that you haven't been talking, and then you guys end up talking again. Certainly some of the friction that you're going to see, I think with the opposition to Pluto and the square to Uranus can also mean that the give and take, like what am I putting into things, whether it's group collaborations, friendships, relationships, what am I getting out of it? And how does that actually impact me in the way that I actually feel? Okay. Let's take a look. Let's see what the cards say for you. The card that I get is the Two of Coins. Why am I not surprised by that? My indecisive Libras. Choices, multitasking, decisions, weighing options, multiple priorities, right? It's kind of like this or that. And you're going to feel like that, right? The 11th house could be other, you know, friends, other people's kids. It could be other lovers of other people. So if you're kind of dating somebody, you're like, are they seeing other people? What's going on there? There is this sense of trying to kind of see where you stand with someone, okay? In a business way, in a friendship way, in a romantic way, whatever. And you're asking yourself, like, you know, does it make sense to step away from what I'm doing or what's best for me and like put myself with other people? And am I putting myself out there in a good way, or am I vulnerable to, you know, maybe being taken advantage of or getting hurt or, you know, whatever? It looks like you need some more time to think about this with Two of Coins coming up, because it means that you're kind of weighing your options. You might be feeling like you're giving another group a chance or another friend a second chance before you decide to make a more permanent decision. Good luck. We got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You'll experience Mercury's transit through your natal 10th house of career, reputation, and visibility. Mercury is associated with your 8th house of joint resources and also kind of karmic entanglement, and your 11th house of friends, groups, and other people. My Scorpios, big time kind of coming up for your career this next month. You've got a lot of planets moving through the 10th house. Mercury entering there is about really feeling heard, you know, really feeling heard. If you want to make some kind of public statement, if you're wanting to go to meetings, if you're wanting to launch something, these are the kinds of things we do with Mercury there. It might mean that you're revealing something, some changes to your career to a group of people, or talking to your friends about changes in your status. That could be coming up here as well. But a great time to focus on your professional goals and also your reputation. I think this is going to have you feeling more ambitious and more determined than you usually are when it comes to work. You may be feeling a little bit more competitive, especially in the area of sales, because of that connection to the 8th house. How you can make more money, how you can incentivize people to kind of want to work with you and kind of grow your base. The only challenge that I see for you, Scorpio, is that all of this Leo moving through your 10th house in this next month, it's 10 houses away or 10 signs away from your sun, moon, or rising, which is like a Saturn energy. So you can feel very like oppressive, you know, it's like the boss. That's like, did you get your work done? Is it ready? You know, when is it going to be done? It could be the partner that's nagging you. It could be the parent that's like all over you. So there is this feeling of being like, I got to get something done. And I would say to my Scorpios, pay attention to what happens during this period, because you're going to start seeing the glimmers of what needs to be worked out, what needs to change, and where there needs to be better, I would say, like life-work balance. And whether you feel like you have been kind of so consumed with some kind of crisis, Pluto in your 4th house revolving around changes with you emotionally, your home, your family, maybe there's been a death in the family, maybe there's been a big relocation, maybe there's been a change of a relationship. That has had a real big impact on your career and your ability to focus and your reputation. And so right off the bat, Mercury opposes Pluto, which basically means you're going to go, okay, I am hearing or I'm realizing there's about to be a big change for me at work. Whether you get an email that's saying, hey, there's something that's going to change with upper management, or our company's getting bought out, or we're doing layoffs, or we're giving you a raise, something's going to change. And it's going to impact you through the opposition, and it's going to trigger something emotionally, or it's going to have an impact on your home or your living situation. Mercury will go retrograde through here. So you might change jobs, switch jobs, change your schedule, make a change with your status. And then eventually down the road at the end of this year, Mars will go retrograde. So pay attention, because this will be the transit that's going to start to show you if you want to make a job change, if you want to have a status change, if you want to change something about feeling like your home life and your work life are so polar opposite and it's hard to find the balance, this is the transit to do it. Watch what happens when Mercury squares Uranus. Going to be a difficult day to kind of work with clients. Going to be a difficult day probably to get on. Also with a relationship to a partner. There's already been some issues brewing there with Mars conjunct Uranus, right? The card that I got for you is the Nine of Wands. Well, you guys are tough, man. This is about persevering, even in the midst of kind of feeling like you're kind of getting hit from every which angle. Being resilient, testing of your faith, the final push, boundaries, the last stand, grit, close to success, and fatigue. So you're exhausted, huh? That's what it seems like. It's been a lot of hard work. North Node's been in your 6th house. You guys have been dealing with probably either working more independently or taking care of your health while simultaneously being busier than ever. But this is saying it's the last push. So that Nine of Wands is saying like, okay, use this transit to be like, I'm really putting myself out there. Like that last push for, trying to find a better job or trying to kind of negotiate a higher pay, something like that. That's going to be kind of coming up for you. And I could see that for you guys, not necessarily now, but I could definitely see that later in the year. And it just might be about kind of figuring out what path is best for you. And I could see more renegotiation of pay and terms coming later this year during the Mercury retrograde in Sag. Okay. Good luck, Scorpio. All right, we've got Sag and Sag rising. You guys will be experiencing Mercury's transit through Leo in your natal 9th house. For you guys, this is happening in a fellow sister fire sign. So it is a little bit more easier for you guys. I think that it plays nicely with your ascendant. You're one of the signs that's going to be getting some fire trines here between the North Node in Aries and the moon, not the moon, but Mercury in Leo in your 9th house. So this is making you feel more active. This is making you feel more optimistic. This is making you want to travel, making you want to learn. Now, Mercury traditionally is associated with your 7th house of relationships and partners and your 10th house of career and reputation. So when Mercury goes into your 9th house, this is going to be about feeling kind of like you have an adventurous spirit. You're more open-minded. You're eager to learn new things. Maybe you're traveling with a partner. Maybe you're making travel plans in the future with a partner. Maybe you are deciding that you want to start working with a new teacher or a coach or a mentor. Maybe you are kind of exploring more of a relationship between you and another relative that can be further away. And Mercury going through this part of the sky, I definitely feel like is helping you kind of see the silver lining in life and being a little bit more optimistic and positive about what the future holds. The only challenge that I see is that, eventually throughout the transits, you're going to see some squares between your 9th house and Uranus in your 6th. I think for Sag risings, this is saying like maybe you have travel plans and then the Uranus squares is like, oh, I couldn't get work off, or I don't know who's going to watch my dog, or I'm having to have a change in travel plans and how this is impacting, my work schedule or my client schedule. It is also possible that this can cause some challenges revolving around like refunds and travel. So I'd say be very careful purchasing travel during this retrograde because it can really impact whether or not you're going to get your money back, because Mercury is being influenced by Venus and, the Sun, which is with Venus and Cancer in your 8th, which can be about talking about like money loss. But for the most part, I think you're positive and optimistic. Great time to be learning other languages, maybe looking into planning a trip in the future. But anything that you guys decide to book or buy, make sure you have some kind of like refund, or you're able to, get a credit in the off chance that Mercury pulls some tricks. The other thing I would say is that, Mercury, which will go retrograde in your 10th house into your 9th, means that some of you guys might be saying, well, yeah, I'm taking time off of work to go on a trip, which is perfect. Some of you guys might be saying, well, I am changing directions in my career and I am going back to school. Perfect. That's okay if you guys decide to do that as well. All right, let's take a look. Let's see what these cards say for my Saggies. Ooh, Queen of Coins too. Baller. Somebody else got this. So for you guys, watch for Capricorns, watch for Tauruses, watch for Virgos. But this can be about really feeling, I think this is about feeling productive. I think that this might be for some of you Saggies being like, I want to make money teaching, or I want to be able to work and travel, or I would like to be able to take my expertise and like train other people. That might be something that's kind of coming up for you, and it's like opening the door to like a new way of taking clients or a new way of making money. It can be about publishing as well. So, that's something else that kind of comes through the 9th house. But I do definitely feel like this is good news when it comes to like your career. Money and career stuff is always really good whenever you pull a King or a Queen of Coins, because it says you're mastering something, but it's something that you're nurturing. So maybe through Mercury's transit, you're going to be kind of thinking about, well, like what do I love about my job? Or how can I, do more research into my career, different career field options, and like find something that's going to feel like it aligns with like my belief system and something that I really enjoy doing. And it's going to give me the freedom that I want, because that seems to be like a focus as well with that transit from your 9th into your 10th. Good luck, Sag. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You guys will experience Mercury's transit through your natal 8th house in the sign of Leo. For you, my Capricorns, this is happening in the 8th house, which is, it's about intimacy, it's about secrets, it's about things that are kind of taboo. It can be about joint resources, taxes, inheritances. It can be about insurance matters, money owed, money paid, and karmic entanglement. It's connected to your natal 6th house of work and daily routine, and your 9th house of travel, education, law, legality, the higher mind. All right, so having Mercury go through the 8th house, whenever planets go through the 8th house, it is about change and transformation. So the transformation is the mind. So you're transforming something about the way that you think about health, work, and your daily routine. So this can be a time where you're like, okay, I'd be considering, some new health habits or some new hobbies, or maybe going for walks more often to clear my mind, or it can be where you're considering looking into making some changes with investing or banking. Definitely very financial, because you're going to see the Mercury-Pluto opposition right off the bat. And so I do think that this is going to be effects revolving around where you keep your money, who you're sharing money with, what you're getting in return. And it's also about your 9th house. So it can be about moving money internationally. It can mean that there's an unexpected expense that comes where you have to hire somebody to fix a tax issue. You have to hire somebody to set up your paperwork or visas or anything in regards to like legal, travel things or documents. And what else? Yeah, there's just like, it's definitely an interesting place, because like I said, Mercury is going to be there first, and that's the changing of the mind. And then Venus is going to be there, and it's going to be about, basically career changes brewing. And then the sun's going to be there, and it's going to be you reflecting on all of this, being like, well, how do I feel about that? There can be big changes in directions also with, waiting to receive money or waiting for a loan to kind of come up. Eventually, Mercury will drop into your 9th house, where it will retrograde. This is why I feel like some of you guys might feel like you need a specialist, you need an attorney, or you need somebody who can kind of help you navigate some of the things that can be coming up right now. It can be a professional to help you, like, I would say, like, consolidate, debt, or to refinance something that can come up as well. But definitely changing something about the way that you think about your joint resources and the money that you might share with other people. That seems to be the theme. Definitely going to give you a boost in intuition, and I think it's going to make you a lot more perceptive. So pay attention, because when Mercury is in the 8th house, we are definitely a little bit more, I think, in tune with things that are coming, and we can kind of feel it a little bit more intensely. This would also be a good transit to consider if you've been debating, like, do I want to go to therapy? I feel like everybody benefits from therapy, but because Mercury is about the mind and it's connected to the health of your 6th house, and Jupiter's there right now, and that's your 12th house lord, I think some people may really benefit from like some kind of like talk therapy. Okay, so you get the Queen of Swords. So that kind of supports what I just said. But watch for like Aquariuses, Libras, or Geminis. They may play a role in this month. This is about being independent, intelligent, honest, fair, balanced, clever, clear about your boundaries, direct communication. This can also be about giving constructive criticism and being objective and logical. Okay. When I think of Mercury in the 8th house, or like a natal Mercury in Scorpio, it's like these people are very like art of war. It's like, okay, they're a few steps ahead, you know? And they're always thinking about what's coming next. And so I think for you, there can be the sense of being like, okay, what's coming next when it comes to my investments, or when it comes to paying something off, or like, you know, how I'm going to handle a situation. You're thinking about the future. So I could see like the Queen of Swords coming up, being like getting really honest with yourself about certain situations, or like really tapping in and coming up with like a plan for how you're going to actually navigate or handle what's going to be happening with some of these retrogrades. Leo is also a sign that in conjuncts or quincunxes you. So there is this sense also of like vulnerability that comes up, because you are kind of dealing with things within yourself that you don't always see. And this can be in the sign of Leo, like, you know, the need to look at creativity, the need to look at playtime, the need to look at romance and like lovers, and like how to work some of that stuff out and bring a little bit more light in, and really kind of enjoy what the transits the whole month of July into August have to offer. Good luck. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You'll be experiencing Mercury's transit through your natal 7th house of Leo, which is your opposite sign. The 7th house is your marketplace. It's your relationships, your spouses, your boyfriends, girlfriends, clients, maybe even your relationship with your children, because Leo can be about children and younger people in general. Mercury has a connection to your 5th house of children. That's why I say that. And also your 8th house of joint resources, shocks, surprises, things that can also be rather intense, and it can also be transformative as well. All right, so first of all, you know I'm going to start off with Mercury going through your 7th house is going to be about communications with other people. Point blank. There's going to be a lot of other people that are going to be calling you, texting you, trying to talk to you, telling you what they think, you know, telling you their perspective on things, all that stuff. The positive is that I feel like with Mercury here, we can be more diplomatic and charming in communication with other people. We can find it easier to negotiate and compromise, generally. The challenge is that we will see Mercury first oppose Pluto, which means you may find yourself in a situation where there is a bit of a spat between you and another person. You're not seeing eye to eye about something. It can be about, you know, how you guys feel about one another, because Mercury rules the 5th house of dating and love affairs. It can be some harsh or really difficult conversations where you're addressing things that need to be addressed that are kind of coming out. That can be about money-related issues. It could be about intimacy issues. It could be about secrets. And the opposition to Pluto means that other people are basically saying to you, Pluto in the 1st house, stop trying to control things, right? Stop trying to tell me what to do. You know, stop trying to be a dictator. I'm not saying you are, but you may get that kind of feedback with Pluto in your 1st house. Or stop trying to control stuff. Then you'll see Venus go through there. Then you'll see the Sun go through there. So you want to pay attention when these planets make these oppositions, because it's going to be showing you, okay, is it that other people are being dramatic and they're being a little bit too much? Or am I actually resistant to change? And am I afraid of making these changes? And what am I not willing to kind of release or let go of? I mean, come on, you know, Aquarius is about the future. But Pluto retrograde in your sign could mean that you're resistant to evolving. You're resistant to, you know, maybe finally walking away from a relationship. Maybe you're resistant to, you know, letting somebody love you, or being vulnerable, or, you know, opening up. So you can feel like you're under an immense amount of pressure right now when it comes to dealing with some of these people. The other thing I think about is that, you know, there will be a Mercury retrograde here. It'll be from your 8th house to your 7th house. So yes, some of you guys will have lover spats, go back and forth with a partner, somebody from the past comes back, there's some drama, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that'll be a short period though in August. But it's down the road, my friends, when Mars retrogrades through here and it opposes Pluto. I will tell you guys, be very careful about who you take back from the past. If you've been back and forth with somebody for some time and you're like, maybe it's different this time, I would be like, really make sure, because it could be like a real intense back and forth you could have with somebody at the end of the year when Mars in the 7th house is saying you've got now people who are being combative. Now they are being, you know, creating physical altercation issues maybe. Maybe they are doing a lot of damage with their words. Maybe it is that somebody gives you an ultimatum. So you have to really start kind of seeing, you know, sometimes when we see planets go to the 7th house and other people kind of show you this like Aries side of themselves, it's not always meant to be combative. Sometimes they're just saying, this is what I need, right? I need more of this, or I don't feel loved, or I don't feel heard, whatever. And the opposition to Pluto doesn't necessarily mean it's always you. It just might mean that's how they're expressing themselves. And maybe you just find yourself, you know, at the taking the brunt of some of their kind of, some of their bad day. And what is best for them sometimes doesn't necessarily mean you can give it to them. And so I think that can come up a lot for Aquarius and Aquarius risings. And I want you guys to really ask yourself, like, are you going to let other people get your goat? Because I think this is about kind of trying to maintain positivity, happiness, joy in creativity, in relationships, in love relationships, whatever, in friendships. There can be, because of the connection to the 5th house. The 5th house is true love. So some of you guys, I think, with some of these retrogrades, especially the Mercury retrograde, may find that somebody comes into your life that you're meant to meet. Or if you need to go and see a therapist with your partner, you guys might talk to somebody, 7th house, and kind of hash it out and then realize we do love each other, we want to make it work. You may not always see eye to eye with your romantic partners about how to raise your children, if you're having kids, how you feel about each other, what you're ready for. These things can kind of come up with some of the challenging aspects that we're going to be seeing, not only because Mercury will oppose Pluto, but Mercury will also square Uranus. So some of the tension that's going on between you and another person could be, you know, having issues with your spouse about your stepkid, you know, having issues with maybe your partner about one of your family members, you know, something like that could be going up. That doesn't necessarily mean it's between the two of you, but the pressure and the stress from the outside situation, it impacts your relationship with this other person. So you're going to hit both ways, the opposition to Pluto and the squares to Uranus. So be very mindful of what goes on in relationships. All right, let's take a look. We've got Judgment. I had a feeling. I was like, I really feel like that's what they're going to get. I should have said that. Because it does feel like it's like there's big decisions being made about a relationship to someone throughout this period. And I think it's going to be really important to kind of hear and see what they say and how they behave and how they react to things. And don't be surprised if they're kind of like a little bit like kind of flippy-floppy, like, you know, kind of back and forth. They seem kind of frazzled, especially as we're getting into the shadow, because when Mercury retrogrades in the 7th, it's like people don't communicate so effectively. And there's a need to kind of take your time and realize that there's going to be a bit of a delay or a stall, you know? Anyway, decisions are being made. I think they're going to be big decisions about relationships, and Judgment is definitely a very definite card. Good luck. We've got Pisces and Pisces rising. You guys are going to be experiencing Mercury's transit through the sign of Leo in your natal 6th house. All right, so for you, my Pisces, couple things. Mercury likes being in the 6th house. It loves it. This is where I feel like its analytical skills are very, very positive, very powerful. You may find that your health is enhanced through this transit. Maybe you find it's easier to organize your thoughts and your ideas. Some of you guys will start new jobs. You'll start new habits. You'll be doing your chores. You'll be putting your clothes away, making your bed. You'll feel like everything is organized in your home space because of Mercury's connection to your 4th house, and that things are kind of like running a little bit more smoothly. Some of you guys might work from home with that transit as well. And Mercury has a connection also to your 7th house of relationships and other people. So you may feel like your day-to-day routine is, you know, maybe around your partner more if you have a partner. Maybe it means that you meet somebody romantically through work or at the gym. It could also mean that, you know, you're just prioritizing health and fitness or wellness, or making time for dating, right, Leo? Making time for relationships, making time for hobbies and kind of creative endeavors. Interesting that, you know, similar to Capricorn, it in conjunction quincunx is your sign. So as it kind of goes through there, definitely the period where it makes in conjuncts and quincunxes to your Saturn is going to bring up health issues, and where, you know, maybe you're feeling a little sad or a little down with Saturn in that because you don't have a lot of playtime, or you're not making time to paint, dance, create, play. And then when it in conjuncts or quincunxes Neptune, there can also be something that's kind of coming to your awareness that's like, hey, actually, I need to make this change. Like I said, new job stuff, new health habits, things like that can kind of come through this particular transit. I do think that the retrograde starting will be in the 7th into the 6th. Something to consider is like whether or not a relationship is working for you and if it's going to be a healthy connection. Whether or not there is some change that's going on with a relationship to a coworker. Maybe, a coworker ends up being out of work for a period of time with the retrograde because they're having some health issues. Maybe a partner is having some health issues. Maybe you're reassessing a relationship, or if you want to get back into dating. All these things might kind of come up for you in the next month. I would just say something to keep in mind is that I think some of the squares to your 3rd house is definitely going to be bringing up like communication and mental health issues. And I think Saturn and Neptune in your 1st house might be that as well. Also, like trying to kind of get you more so aware of that so you can start kind of healing some of those particular situations. That's pretty much it. I think the trines to the North Node and Chiron too in your 2nd house could be like, you start working again, so you're making, money or more money, and then you feel like more confident and like you feel more secure. Maybe you're making changes to what you're eating or what you're consuming with trines to the North Node and Chiron, and that's actually helping when it comes to like your health. If some health stuff comes up, the retrograde is going to help you kind of readdress it and make the necessary changes that you need to make. So it might be about connecting with like a new healthcare team, right? All right, so let's take a look. Let's see what the cards say for you. Ooh, card that again is the 3 of Swords. I always see the 6th house as like the 12th from the 7th, right? Going this way. And for me, endings or changes of relationships, I have always kind of seen in the 6th house. So I'm wondering, like, is there that person at work that you're just not getting along with? Like, is there that doctor that you're just like, it's not working for me, I need someone new? Are you in a relationship where you've been off and on and you're like, I think I'm ready to call it quits? Is there anything like that going on in your life? Because it makes me feel like with the 3 of Swords, which is about like literally addressing heartbreak, emotional pain, moving through trauma, healing grief, issues with feeling broken or feeling kind of lost. There may be things that need to be dealt with inevitably when you have that retrograde cycle, which will be in August. And so it can be coming up now. And I think it's interesting that all the quincunxes to the planets in Pisces may have you really feeling that. And you're like, there's something wrong. And then you realize like, there's nothing wrong with me. I haven't healed this heartbreak, or I haven't gotten over this situation, or I'm really missing my pet, or, I'm kind of heartbroken that I couldn't make it work with my ex-partner. Something like that can be kind of coming up for you. And I would just say any exercises you can do to be more heart-centered, to be really paying attention to what's going on with your emotions can be really helpful. And it can help you kind of move through this period a little bit more smoothly, but definitely good for having better health, having eventually better relationships, and also feeling more on top of your schedule and more productive. Okay, guys? Well, I hope that's helpful for you guys. Definitely going to be an interesting Mercury transit. Like I said, stay tuned. Later in the month of July, I will do a part 2 video where we discuss more the Mercury retrograde in itself, what that looks like. It's going to be very interesting because Mercury is actually going to turn retrograde in conjunction to Venus. So I do feel like it's going to be very health related for everyone. It's also going to be about reassessing what relationships is and is not working for us, and changes when it comes to the job market. These are going to be the big 3 things that I'm going to be focusing on. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Leave me a comment below. Let me know, where is this retrograding for you? What aspects is it making in your chart? Were you born with Mercury square Uranus? I'd like to hear from these people. You guys can give us some feedback. Were you born with Mercury in opposition to Pluto? How has that played out for you? I would love to hear. I'll be back on Thursday. I've got a special presentation for you guys, but if you want to see some of the stuff that I've been working on, some of my courses, my classes, my webinars, or my calendars, click the links below. Head over to beyondtheveiledtarot.com. Sign up for my newsletter. I will not spam you. You guys just get emails when I have new things that I'm putting on my website. And you guys can follow me on X at BTV Astro. Follow me there. You can see all of my posts and stuff that I'm putting together. And I hope you guys enjoy this Mercury ingress. Remember, today and tomorrow, do not let fear run the show, and be mindful of what's living rent-free in your head. Try to let it go. All right, I'll catch you guys back here next time. Take care, and I'll see you soon.